Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So something I want to talk about this week is a lot of the questions that people are asking is when are people going to just stop putting out content about what is goth and what is not, and I want to talk about friends and clubs and all of these different things that they all relate, I promise. But the simple answer to when will people stop putting out this what is goth, what is not content, some people stop asking, because you have so many people new to the subculture or curious about the subculture, both young and old, who genuinely don't know, and they're asking the most, I don't want to say ridiculous, because it's ridiculous to us. It's not a ridiculous question because they want to know, but it's just ridiculous, like, wow, really? What does it come to? And it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad that things have gotten to a point where people genuinely have to ask you, oh my God, I have brown hair. Can I still be a goth? And they're serious. But I know I've said this before, and it's something that still baffles me, because when I was younger and you were involved in any sort of alternative subculture, the answer was very simple, because anytime you were involved in any alternative subculture, it always came down to one thing. It always came down to the music. For example, am I a raver? Nobody ever asked themselves that question, because they knew if they listened to the music and they went to raves, they were a raver. Am I a punk? Nobody ever asked themselves that question, because if they were listening to the music, they knew. And goth, metal, grunge, all of it, it all was very much the same thing, because you associated who you were, your identity was the music. Now, you could also choose to not consider yourself part of that. You just listen to the music, but for the most part, people who identified with it, there was the music attached to it. And goth has always been the same. So we never asked ourselves. I never asked myself, my friends, nobody I knew ever questioned it. They just, well, I like this music, I'm a goth. And it was as simple as that. But I look at a lot of, and the reason this has come up is because I've started posting a lot of my short form videos on Facebook. And let me tell you, you think TikTok's bad? Some of the comments that I've gotten, it highlights the kind of people that are out there. And if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Nobody thinks themselves more a goth historian or expert than those outside the subculture. Kid you not. So I had been tagged in a video way back when. I say way back when, that's like months, but I was tagged in a video on TikTok. It was a stitch that Mammy or Mamie Hades had done. She has a TikTok, and it was a stitch that she had done with these, like, I don't know what they are. They're like these kind of douchey, like emo looking boys who are like promoting their music by objectifying the whole goth dommy mommy situation. And they kind of get backlash and they say, oh, it's just a parody, we stand with you, etc., etc. But then they do it again, and they do it to promote their music. They're not sorry about it. They don't stand with anybody. All they're doing is exploiting goth girls to promote the music, but doing it in the most sexualizing, objectifying way. And she did a stitch, and I was tagged in that stitch, so I kind of added to that stitch.
Oh my God, is that a goth Tommy mommy?
What do we need to do as a society to stop this?
I have some ideas. Too much? As one would, in my own sort of way. And the amount of angst that video brought is, it's interesting, and the amount of people that it brought out. So with a lot of females and the girls involved, a lot of the girls, well, the guys too, but a lot of what you had gotten from girls were, how dare you gatekeep goth? How dare you gatekeep the subculture? Goth is whatever you want it to be. Goth is in your heart. And these people are so tied to the label. So you have these girls, and despite them witnessing and seeing in real time these two guys that are openly sexualizing and objectifying and perpetuating a stereotype about goth girls that rather than say, wow, that's horrible, that's bad, they see people that are fighting against it as gatekeeping and saying that these girls can't be goth. And it was that showed me how deep that problematic thinking went. It showed me that there are people that are so tied to the identity of goth, and when they see goth saying, no, it's about the music, don't objectify us, this is like, the way we dress, the way we look, this is a reflection of the music. This is the reflection, the way the music makes us feel. It makes us feel dark. It makes us feel macabre. It makes us feel morbid, but it also does so in a melancholy way. And this is the way we look. This is the way that we present ourselves to the world based upon how the music makes us feel. And they're like, no, it's sex. It's all about sex. It's a sexual thing. And they want that validation so badly that they will openly kind of turn a blind eye to the problematic issue and side with the people that are perpetuating this. When you have that kind of thing happening and you have those kind of people muddying the waters, it's no surprise that you have a lot of these people asking the questions like, okay, is this goth? Can I be goth because of this? And there are so many different sort of stereotypes that are floating around that people genuinely believe that they have to adhere to or they have to kind of go along with in order to be goth. There's someone who comments on my channel quite a lot. I'm not going to mention him by name, but it has to do with basically any video that is in no way connected to the comments that he makes, and he leaves it consistently. I wish I could have a goth girlfriend, but I can't because goth girls don't like black men, because black men can't be goth. If you have a set of ears and a soul, ethnicity need not apply when it comes to music because it is a universal thing. And it's something that I have tried to explain on numerous occasions, but it's just something that does not track or sink in because I guess this is his experience. And I feel bad. I feel bad because I wonder if he set those limitations himself. He just assumed this. Maybe he lives in a place where he is oppressed for liking anything alternative and hasn't ventured within the subculture. But I hope that one day he can find himself in a situation or in a place where he realizes that's not the case. And that's just one thing, because you have a lot of people who culturally, their families don't look at anybody expressing themselves alternatively, let alone goth, or listening to the music as something that they, within their culture or within their ethnic group, should be listening to or be dressing like or participating in. There are so many different people within the subculture, and a lot of people on the outside think that we're all the same. And that's not true. We're all each very, very different people. The one thing we do have in common is we listen to the same music. I mean, we do have different tastes. There is a wide umbrella, and we all have our preferences, but on the whole, we do listen to the same music. But that's really where a lot of it stops. When it comes to literature, when it comes to media, when it comes to even fashion. To those outside, it can look very much the same, but to those inside, we see the little minuscule differences. And one does not have to forego their culture and their identity just to be involved within the goth subculture. You still are very much who you are, and you will always be that very thing. You've just added something very unique to the pot. That's it. And they exist in very separate places as well. Family, history, identity, culture, goth. And you put those things together and, you have you. It really does hurt the heart to know that there are people that are very much in love with the music and the subculture and want nothing more to be part of it, but were made to believe that just because of the culture or ethnicity that they were born into, that they can't have any part in it. Fortunately, we have a lot of great people within the subculture that are either making content or involved in communities that will very much reiterate the same, that no, it has nothing to do with that. So please do not let anything hold you back. Explore, partake. I will never forget the very first time I walked into a club called The Bank in the city, and it was, I want to say 1996. If you've ever been to the Bank in New York City in the 90s or the early 2000s, like when you walk in, it's just one small hallway, and then you just turn the corner and boom. Basically, immediately you're on the dance floor. The first thing you see is a wide open space and the dance floor. And I remember when I walked in with my friend Elena, and it is so amazing when you have friends with you, even if they're not involved in the subculture at all, because you want to have that shared experience because it's something new. And when it's something new, it's something that kind of gets like tacked onto memory, and it's something you reminisce on. It's something you'll reminisce on fondly. And you all remember different perspectives of the night, so then you have all of these different angles of it that you get to reflect on. So memories are everything. Remember that memories are absolutely everything. But I remember when we first walked in, a song off the Goth starter kit was playing, and of course it was Sisters of Mercy. So you play Sisters of Mercy to a 16-year-old that just got involved, you're playing like the mother band. So the second she walked in, she paid the cover fee, took like 5 steps in the door, and she was on the dance floor and dancing immediately. Walked straight onto the dance floor dancing. She may as well have just danced her way in the door, and danced the entire night. And that was my memories of the evening. Like, we walked in, and it was just hearing all the music that we listened to in my room or on mixtapes in cars. Prior to going to Goth Nights, I had been to like teen clubs and stuff like that before. You know, I lived in Florida, and I went to a lot of like freestyle clubs. They had a lot of freestyle, and I still have freestyle to this day, but I went to a lot of freestyle clubs, and it was just, you know, your standard club. It was clubbing. But it wasn't until I experienced goth clubs that I understood that there was very much a difference there. It wasn't just clubbing with different music. There was a culture to it. There was community to it. So a lot of it does have to do with the fashion, but not in the way that you think. You see, people dressed up not to impress each other. They were dressing up because they wanted to express themselves. As I said previously, the fashion, the clothing is always a reflection of the way the music makes us feel. And it's nice to be able to express yourself. And you're able to kind of go full throttle on that self-expression when you go into a club night. So when you're dressed in a specific way, with your makeup done a specific way, your hair done a specific way, you're accessorized, you're showing people, this is who I am. You're kind of introducing yourself in many ways. So there's always that. There is getting to congregate with people who are like you, because it's a subculture. You're getting to meet people from further distances and other communities that are very much like you. And you don't really get that quite a lot, because you have people from different towns, different cities, different states who would all come together and be part of it. So now you're getting to meet all of these different people and really feel that sense of communities. But with Goth Nights, it was being able to go into a space where you were able to hear the music that made you feel something. It was being able to express yourself to the fullest. It was being able to be amongst your people, meet new people, learn things. And it was an event, and it was something that you kind of went home still kind of buzzing from. I know that it's difficult for a lot of the people to find others that are like them, but I highly recommend going in community spaces, but really take a lot with a grain of salt initially, and try not to take things to heart, because you have very much, you will come into contact with kind of two extremes of a personality. Now, this is not the majority. I want this to be known. This is not the majority, because most of the people that you will interact with are super cool, but you will run into these personalities every now and again, and this is something you must take with a grain of salt, and please do not let it discourage you. And the first one is the purist, and is the person who will basically chastise anything that isn't even remotely related to goth in any way, and pretty much check you at every point. If you misspell a band name, they question you. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. There are people like that. They're just in overdrive, and pay them no mind. Secondly, you have people that infiltrate, that kind of make themselves seem a little bit well-meaning, but then they give off little hints here and there that they might not actually be a goth, and then suddenly it comes out, well, goth is just a mindset. Goth is in your heart. And then out with the architecture defense. And what is the architecture defense? The architecture defense is when they immediately defer to like history, Gothic cathedrals, and Vikings to support their argument that goth is anything but a music-based subculture. So also you will run into those more than likely they will be checked before you need to say anything, and don't allow them to confuse you or stray you from the past. A lot of these people have the whole idea that goth rap is a thing and that goth rap is going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, there are people who have tried and many who have failed. Let them try. I'm interested to see the result, but as for the moment, does it exist? No. But interesting things do happen. There are rappers who all of a sudden become goth. I will give you an example.
Fumo, fumo, fumo e rido, ha 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 ha. Ride, 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 ha 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 ha. Alfa, alfa, alfabeto, ah 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 ah. Rari, 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 ra ra ra. Is my suicide. I cried to survive.
How the hell did that happen? Even those who have tried to make the crossover have failed. However, a very rare few such as this have made the transition. It has been done, but the two. There's nothing strange about people who listen to rap liking goth and vice versa, but there seems to be a lot of people who believe that when you listen to goth, you can't listen to really anything else, and that's never really truly been the case. I've very seldom met purists. They exist. You have goth purists that do exist, but more often than not, you have people that will listen to like tons of different genres. Unfortunately, a big misconception that you have amongst a lot of people who are new to the subculture, they believe that they lack authenticity or they can't be part of the subculture because they listen to different genres of music, and they believe that the general consensus is, if you're not a purist, if you don't listen to goth and goth alone, that you're just not a goth. And then you have some people who think, oh, it's such a gatekeepery way of thinking, and then others that are like, oh, I just can't be part of it, when they're both very much incorrect. The truth is, you do have purists in the subculture. Like, you do have people who will just listen to goth and goth alone, but they are vastly outnumbered by the majority of people who we listen to so many different genres of music. You have goths that listen to industrial, you have goths that listen to emo, metal, K-pop, there are goths that listen to rap, there are goths who listen to so many different genres of music. So it really isn't just based on one particular type. It's not just goth. However, so long as you just listen to goth music and it happens to be the primary genre that you listen to, that's really all it is. I used to be a purist, but that was when I was a very overzealous baby bat and thought that I needed to eat, sleep, and breathe everything goth, or else. And a lot of that overzealous nature that comes along with being a baby bat has to do with just being a dramatic teenager, because you're just kind of coming into yourself. You're experiencing things for the first time, and you got a lot of emotions, a lot of hormones. You are dealing with puberty anyway, so everything is just dramatic. And you discover something such as goth with music that you relate to and just gets you at your core. You're going to jump in head and feet first, and it dies down, it always calms down, but when that happens, and now that I think about it, I think that it really can happen at any age. Finally, after how many years finding your people and finding your music, that's got to hit different. But better late than never. The reason that I continue to make a lot of this type of content is because I don't want you to miss out on those experiences. I don't want you to sort of take the wrong road or kind of find yourself led astray, because there is a lot of confusion out there. It wasn't like it was when I was younger. I didn't really need to be led by the hand to be told what was goth and what was not. It was just as simple as finding the music, and once you did, you were there. But it's not like that anymore. It's very frustrating for me to see other people wanting to have just a fraction of the experiences that I've had. And on the surface, it seems like, well, why not? Well, the way that the world has redesigned itself, it made it so it's very difficult, if not for some cases impossible, for that to even take place. And you wouldn't think so. But when you're walking around with a supercomputer in your pocket and you're living in an age of technology, you're living in an age where everybody has access to everything and each other, you're giving other people the opportunity to stick their oar in and put their own spin on things, whether it's right or wrong. But you're also kind of adding a bunch of bricks onto a pile that leaves the brick that you're looking for underneath it, and you have to sift through all of it. And how do you know which brick to pick up if you don't know what the hell it looks like in the first place? So when it comes to things like that, it's the very reason why I will continue to make content like this every now and again, because sometimes you gotta help people find what it is that they're looking for. And I want you to have those experiences, because it's so upsetting, because I've seen your comments here, I've seen it in threads, I've seen so many people express this deep sense of mourning for not being able to have the experiences that we discuss. And you should be able to have those. Why can't you have those? But again, the world has redesigned itself in such a way where it can't be done in a lot of cases. Like, for example, I went to teen clubs. I went to club nights with people who, they say teen clubs, but they were like 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds running around in there. I was able to go in, and it was because it was an all ages event. Those types of things were not abnormal. It was a bit of a reckless time, if you really think about it. In the 80s, I went to club nights with my mother, because there was a fun little rule in the 1980s that said, well, as long as you have your mom with you, you can go to a club at any age. And I did. My mother took me, I remember she took me to a club called Speaks. And it was a night where there were goths and punks and I guess you can call them new romantics. And I remember them. I have a story about this. I told this story actually on TikTok. It was a short story. My cousin got puked on by a punk with a green double mohawk. But I couldn't have been no more than 3 or 4 years old. But I remember the night. And you couldn't do that now. Everybody was smoking. Everybody was drinking. And here I am. I'm like a 3-4-year-old little kid. And I'm just being walked around this club. But it was not an abnormal thing, because in the 80s that kind of thing was okay. It was normal. And then, fast forward into the 90s, I'm going to all ages club events where I'm congregating with people in their 20s, and I'm like 13, 14 years old. This is when I lived in Florida. But then I came to New York, and it was much the same. We had all ages events, and then you had teen nights. And then when I wanted to go to the 18 plus, it was very easy to get a fake ID, and the fake IDs back then, all you needed was any kind of ID. You needed a college ID, and even if the doorman was a little bit iffy about taking it, you could always schmooze your way in. I never had any problem getting into clubs when I was like 15, 16 years old, and went in, and I was amongst people 18 to whatever, because it was 18 to enter, 21 to drink. And as long as I made myself under the age of 21, I didn't raise any alarm bells, and I was able to get in. They put the 2 X's on my hand saying don't serve her alcohol. I didn't drink anyway. I just wanted to go in and dance, which I did. But nowadays it's not that easy, because now it's like 21 to get in. I feel like you need to be going and experiencing these things when you don't have any of the crazy responsibilities looming, and you're able to just take all of these things in organically and not have anything else, any of that jaded adulthood to crap it up. But maybe things will change. As per usual, I don't really know what this video is about or where this is going, but it was kind of a culmination of me reading some threads today and going through my social media comments and getting an idea of where everybody's head is at and what they're doing, and catching up on my inbox and the messages that I've been sent by people who I'm forever eternally grateful to, listening to me ramble on and letting me know that I've helped you in any way. It makes me happy. Until next time. Bye.